I don't know what happened. He's just gone. The voice on the other end is barely above a whisper. Shaky. Hollow. Ma'am, please calm down. Who is missing? A pause. Just the sound of breathing, uneven, almost gasping. Then. My boyfriend. The dispatcher hesitates. Something isn't right. The tone of the caller. The way the words stumble out, uncertain, as if she's only just realizing the weight of what she's saying. Ma'am, when did you last see him? Another pause. But this one stretches too long. Click. The line goes dead. The dispatcher calls back. No answer. A trace is run on the call. It came from an apartment complex in Atlanta, Georgia. Police are dispatched. What they find when they arrive is nothing. No forced entry. No signs of a struggle. No blood. No body. Just a single cell phone on the coffee table, its screen still glowing. The call log open. The last number dialed. 911. But the woman who made the call is nowhere to be found. How can someone vanish without a trace? And more disturbingly, how can someone commit the perfect crime, without even knowing they did it? Malik Carter was the kind of man people gravitated toward. Sharp mind, easy charm. The type of person who could walk into a room and make strangers feel like old friends. At 29, he had built a stable career as a software engineer, well-liked by his colleagues, admired by his friends. But if you asked the people closest to him, they'd say his greatest love wasn't his work. It was Sierra James. Sierra, 27, had a way of moving through life like she was bracing for something to go wrong. A social worker by profession, she spent her days helping others, but those who knew her well said she carried ghosts of her own. There were pieces of her past she never spoke about. Wounds that never fully healed. But with Malik, she had something steady. Safe. A love that made sense. Or at least, that's how it looked from the outside. On the night of February 3, 2022, Malik and Sierra were seen together at a jazz bar in downtown Atlanta. A usual date night. No arguments. No signs of trouble. Surveillance footage captures them leaving just after 11 p.m. Malik walks Sierra to the car, opens the passenger door for her. Then he rounds the front of the vehicle. And then, he disappears. Not off camera. Not out of view. He simply ceases to exist in the next frame. 1 second there, the next, gone. The footage was analyzed. No glitches. No interruptions. The time code runs smoothly. Sierra remains in the car, sitting still for over 3 minutes before finally starting the engine and driving away. It would take another 12 hours before anyone noticed something was wrong. Malik's sister, Alexis, was the first to grow concerned. He wasn't answering his phone. No texts, no calls. By morning, his job was reaching out too. He never missed work without a reason. And then, an even stranger clue. Malik's phone wasn't where it should have been. Cell tower records placed it miles away from where he was last seen, pinging off a tower near an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Police tracked the signal. The location? Empty. Just an old, crumbling building with boarded-up windows and the kind of silence that feels wrong. No car. No Malik. No sign he had ever been there. Except for one thing. A single voicemail left on Alexis' phone at 3:47 a.m. A call from Malik's number. But the voice on the message? It wasn't his. When Sierra James walked into the Atlanta Police Department on February 4th, she didn't seem frantic. She didn't cry. She sat calmly in the waiting area until her name was called. "My boyfriend is missing," she told the officer at the desk. "How long has he been gone?" "Since last night." Last time you saw him? Around 11. He walked me to the car. That was it. No elaboration. No panic. Just the facts. By standard procedure, adults aren't considered missing for 24 hours unless there's evidence of danger. But something about this case pulled at detectives right away. Maybe it was the surveillance footage. The way Malik simply vanished from the recording. Maybe it was Sierra's demeanor, cooperative, but distant. Investigators checked his apartment first. Nothing out of place. His wallet, laptop, keys, all there. But his phone was still unaccounted for. A deeper look into his records painted an even stranger picture. No digital activity since the night he disappeared. No outgoing calls. No credit card transactions. His social media, silent. It was like someone had pressed pause on his entire life. The neighbors were questioned. Most heard nothing unusual that night. But one, an older woman in the apartment across the hall, mentioned something peculiar. I did hear voices. A man and a woman arguing. But it didn't sound violent. Just tense. Detectives asked her to recall anything she could. Any words she might have caught. She hesitated, then said, "There was one thing." The man said, "You don't get to decide that." The woman couldn't be sure of the rest. But it was enough to send police back to Sierra with more questions. She told them she had gone straight home after Malik walked her to the car. She said she fell asleep around midnight and didn't wake up until morning. Her phone records backed that up. No outgoing calls during those hours. No texts. But then there was the deleted message. A forensic sweep of Malik's phone records uncovered a text sent to Sierra at 11:27 p.m. The message had been erased from her device, but cell carriers don't forget. 3 words. "We need to talk." And then, buried deep in her personal notes, investigators found something else. A single line scrawled into the pages of a notebook: "If I had to erase someone, would I even know I did it?" Not a confession. Not evidence of a crime. But it raised a question no one was ready to answer. Sierra hadn't slept in days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Malik. Not as he was in life, laughing, full of warmth, but reaching for her. His hands, cold. His face, blurred. Something was pulling him back into the dark. At first, she thought it was just grief. The weight of losing him, of not knowing where he was. But then came the moments she couldn't explain. She would wake up sitting at the kitchen table, coffee brewed but untouched. Clothes she didn't remember washing folded neatly on the couch. And then, the worst of it, her own handwriting in her journal, words she had no memory of writing. "I went somewhere last night. But I don't know where." Detectives, meanwhile, were working through new evidence. Malik's phone had been found at an abandoned construction site, tossed into the dirt like an afterthought. It was miles away from where he was last seen. The location data was intact. The last GPS ping. A small stretch of road between Sierra's apartment and a place neither she nor Malik had any known connection to. But that wasn't the discovery that shook the investigation. Security footage from Sierra's own building told a story she swore wasn't possible. Her car, motionless in its usual parking spot when police first checked, wasn't there the entire night. At 2:17 a.m., a figure got into the driver's seat and pulled out of the lot. The figure was alone. The figure was her. But Sierra insisted she never left her bed. Her lawyer advised her to stop answering questions. To let the investigation play out. But she needed answers more than she needed protection. At the urging of a friend, she agreed to see a hypnotherapist. Someone trained to help with lost memories, suppressed trauma. She went in skeptical. She left shaking. Because in the quiet of that room, beneath the calm voice guiding her into recollection, Sierra saw something. Not just the flashes of Malik disappearing. Not just the feeling that something was missing. But her own hands, on the wheel, knuckles white, as she drove into the night. She had been there. But she didn't know why. Or what happened next. Sierra's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. The grainy security footage played on a loop. A lone figure. Struggling with something heavy. The figure stops. Looks up. The camera distorts, but the shape is unmistakable. Her pulse pounded. She wanted to look away, to deny it, to scream that it wasn't possible. But deep down, something cracked. A voice inside whispered, "You already knew." Detective Avery leaned in, voice low. This was taken at 3:12 a.m., the night Malik vanished. "Do you remember being there?" Sierra swallowed hard. "No," a long pause. "But I believe I was." The room felt smaller. The walls, closer. "Where did you take him?" Avery asked. Sierra opened her mouth, but nothing came. Because the truth was, she didn't know. Or maybe, she did. And her mind just wouldn't let her see it. Forensics had been combing through every inch of Sierra's apartment. The drain pipes. That's where they found it. Traces of a chemical solvent. One strong enough to break down organic material. She didn't own anything like that. At least, not that she remembered. Yet, receipts told another story. A purchase, 3 days before Malik disappeared. A hardware store just outside the city. A bottle of industrial-grade cleaner. Paid in cash. Signed for, in her handwriting. Sierra pressed her palms against her temples, trying to force the memories out. Nothing. And then, a flash. Water swirling down the drain. Malik's voice. Weak. Confused. "Sierra, why?" She gasped, stumbling back. The room spun. Avery didn't blink. "What did you see?" Tears burned her eyes. Her lips parted. "I don't remember doing it," the words felt like acid in her throat. She let out a shaky breath. "But I know I did." Sierra sat in the interrogation room, staring at her own reflection in the one-way mirror. Bloodshot eyes, hollow cheeks, a ghost of herself. She had walked into the precinct on her own, hands shaking, voice barely above a whisper. "I think I killed him." Detective Avery folded his arms. "You think?" She blinked. She wanted to say yes, wanted to give them something, anything, that would end this. But there was no body. No murder weapon. Just gaps in her memory, flashes of something wrong, and the slow, gnawing realization that maybe she had done something unforgivable. But what if she hadn't? What if this wasn't her crime to confess? The evidence was damning. Her car. Spotted on surveillance. The cleaner. Purchased in her name. The footage. A shadowy figure, dragging something heavy through the alley. But there was no proof of what had happened to Malik. No remains. No murder scene. Nothing forensic analysts could hold up and say, this is what happened. And without that, Sierra wasn't a killer. She was just, unstable. Days passed. Then weeks. Whispers followed her everywhere. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Online forums dissected every moment of the case. Some believed she was guilty. Others thought she was covering for someone else. And then there were the ones who had the most terrifying theory of all, that Malik was still out there. Watching. Waiting. Making her doubt her own mind. Then the calls started. Always late at night. Always from an unknown number. A pause. Then a breath. Then his voice. Sierra. Her heart stopped. She pressed the phone closer. Malik? Silence. Then the line went dead. She stared at the screen, breath shallow, hands cold. Had she imagined it? Or had Malik never been gone? The scariest thing wasn't that she got away with murder. It was that she may never remember if she did it at all. Sierra didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window, phone in hand, waiting. Every noise outside made her flinch. Had Malik really called her? Or was her mind slipping further? She scrolled through old messages, voice notes. Proof that he had existed. That she hadn't just created him in her head. Then, the phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her breath hitched. The hesitation lasted seconds. Then she answered. A pause. Silence so thick she could hear her own heartbeat. Then, a whisper. I'm still here. She dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a dull thud, the call still connected. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't possible. Unless... Her apartment suddenly felt too small. Too wrong. She turned toward the door, every instinct screaming that she wasn't alone. The police dismissed it. Likely a prank, Detective Avery said, arms crossed. But Sierra knew the weight of that voice. It wasn't fake. And if Malik was alive, then where had he been all this time? And why was he only reaching out now? Days later, another call. This time, a different message. Check the vent. Her hands shook as she climbed onto the counter, heart pounding. The vent cover was old, rusted at the edges. She hesitated, then pried it open. Inside, something small. Wrapped in plastic. She pulled it out, unwrapping it with trembling fingers. A phone. Malik's phone. Battery dead. Sierra's blood ran cold. The police had his phone. Found it miles away. So why was it here? Unless someone had planted it. Unless someone wanted her to find it. The fear clawed at her chest. This wasn't just about Malik anymore. Someone was playing with her. And the worst part? They were close. Too close. What do you think happened to Malik? Comment your theories below. And if you think this was terrifying, what if I told you someone lived in her attic, and she never knew? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.